Welcome back, everyone. It's time to get cooking with Chef Nanny Bubby. Today she's teaching us how to season cottage cheese with some herbs and spices, perfect for any Oktoberfest celebrations. Check it out.
Hi there, Rocky, Lindsay, JC, and crew in the studio, and hello to you at home. Welcome to Nanny Bubby's Garden. And of course, we always want to thank Chapman, there he is right there, our sponsor of these segments. So last time we were out in the garden, we talked about these little seedlings that I had planted. Of course, those were spring seedlings. These are the fall seedlings. They're all lettuces. And you may remember that I planted them in pots in a fountain as I was awaiting my victory garden to be built. Well, I want to show you just how beautiful that victory garden turned out. So I belong to a Facebook group called I Grew Up in Las Vegas Baby, and I recently saw a post by Judge Kishner who posted something about the Alpine Village Inn, which was a very famous German restaurant that started in the 50s, and they had an amazing appetizer. And I thought, well, it's almost Oktoberfest, and not only that, we did a retro recipe last time, so let's just do one more this time. So let's cut some herbs and let's get inside and make that recipe. The most important ingredient in today's recipe, chives. So let's just take a moment to talk a little bit about the Alpine Village Inn. Famous as it was, started in the 1950s and had many locations, but its most famous location was on the far Las Vegas Boulevard South. It was exclusively a German restaurant, and many people from all over the world came to go downstairs in what was called their Rathskeller to eat the famous appetizer we're making today, eat peanuts and throw the shells on the floor. So here we have chives, oregano, and rosemary from the garden. You know, I always make a big deal about washing everything, but when it comes out of my own garden, I know what the soil has been, I know what hands have touched it. So I just give it a quick little rinse, just to make sure all the dust is off, maybe a few bugs go down the drain, and dry it off real good. So we rolled up our sleeves, and the first ingredient from the original recipe is accent, which is MSG, monosodium glutamate. It's a mouthful. But one thing we all know is we all don't feel good after we eat it, and our fingers swell a big way when we eat it. And so what I found is a great substitute for accent or MSG in any recipe is French sea salt and also a little bit of Parmesan cheese. These two, when combined, bring out the flavor in everything. So we're going to start with, I picked Anderson Dairy Cottage Cheese because it is a retro recipe, and Anderson Dairy was the only dairy in Las Vegas back in the 50s when this all started. So 1 container of cottage cheese, 2 tablespoons of the Parmesan cheese, as I mentioned, 1, 2. We're going to put in a nice teaspoonful of French sea salt, sprinkled throughout. So this has been chilling for about an hour. That's what you want to do so it gets nice and firm. Over here we pair it so nicely with our German beer. Just pour it right in. We've got some nuts. Now in the Rathskeller, what we used to do is eat these nuts and just throw the shells over our shoulders onto the floor. You got to do that for Oktoberfest. And now just dipping into this dip onto a Triscuit, which is kind of retro for me. Oh my gosh. Boy, I remember that flavor. Happy Oktoberfest, everybody.
Happy Oktoberfest. You can check out Chef Nanny Bubby on Facebook and Instagram. And thank you again to Chapman Automotive for sponsoring this segment. We'll be right back.